Chapter 731, Is Your Life More Important or Is Money More Important? Not only were the Kunlun Mountains the origin of many myths, it was also a heaven for explorers. It cut through Beijiang and Nansong. Qingzhou was in the east. It was 2,500 kilometers long, and the average elevation was 5,500 to 6,000 meters. It was 130 to 200 kilometers wide. Its total surface area was over 500,000 square kilometers. Many small countries were not even as large as this mountain. It was very magnificent. At first, explorers preferred exploring Lop Nur. Later, everyone realized that the Kunlun Mountains was the most dangerous place to mankind. Some even tried to cross Death Valley. Lu Shu sat in the train and looked up information on Death Valley. He wanted to see whether anyone had successfully crossed the valley. It was fine even if it was before the dawn of the magically rich era. But the descriptions online were quite sketchy. Some said that they had successfully crossed Death Valley, but were not willing to provide information on their starting point, their exit point, and the car that they had used. One variety program had attempted to cross Death Valley as well, but they only strolled around the area before carrying the camera on their shoulder in fear and running away. It was a good start, but a poor ending to the show. Scientists explained that there was lightning and an underground river. But the explorers claimed that there was a frozen dragon in the Kunlun Mountains. The entrance to that place was beneath Death Valley. Some also said that in historical records, the Kunlun Mountains were the first place where demons appeared to eat humans. The train was headed to Saiching, the provincial capital of Nansong. Lu Shu had wanted to go to Qingzhou, which was closer to Death Valley. But more explorers gathered in Saiching. Those who wanted to climb the mountains would first get used to the high altitude there. There were people who even built inns there. Most explorers would conduct their training there and wait for good weather to climb the mountains. Transport was very convenient now. Some rich explorers had provided financial support. There was no lack of funds here. The train was about to pull into the station, but Lu Shu had not found any leads. Suddenly, a burly man passed by Lu Shu and saw that Lu Shu had maps in his hands. He was also looking up routes on his phone. He stopped in his tracks and smiled. "Young man, are you also here to explore?" Lu Shu looked up. He was wearing a blue t-shirt with a jacket tied around his waist. He was wearing a hat and had a massive backpack on his back. Lu Shu thought about it and said, "Yup. If not, why would I be here for? But I could not find a good team to go with." "Brother, you seem to be very experienced." The burly man laughed. "I have done this for over 10 years. There is no place that I have never been to. There is no place in the world that I cannot go to." Lu Shu was dumbfounded. "Brother, so you've been to Death Valley, right?" From Zhang Yanfeng's distress, plus 666. Zhang Yanfeng's face turned red. He said in a small voice, "I have never been there." Who knew that Lu Shu would bring up such a difficult place so quickly? When he saw that Lu Shu did not even have a backpack, he thought that Lu Shu was a beginner. But he had boasted too quickly. Ahem. Lu Shu cleared his throat. "Brother, please don't be offended. I was just asking." Lu Shu felt bad. He had genuinely asked out of curiosity. Zhang Yanfeng did not seem to be a petty person either. After the initial awkwardness, he laughed. "Although I have never been there before, but this time, those who gather in Saiching can choose 3 routes to take. For the first route, we will climb the Boundary Mountain and cross the Korea Pass. For the second route, we will go to Medog County. As for the last route, we will cross into Death Valley through Kumukili Desert." Zhang Yanfeng was an expert when it came to exploration. If not, he would not be able to walk along routes that were more than 5,000 meters above sea level. He was the kind who would be able to make a stir just by posting on his timeline. But he had been humiliated by Lu Shu. Lu Shu suddenly asked, But can we enter the Kunlun Mountains? I heard that something happened inside recently. When Zhang Yanfeng heard this, his eyes lit up. Brother, so you are in the community as well? Now, there are strict orders that prohibit entry. But the problem is, the Kunlun Mountains are so big. Who would be able to stop us? We have already planned the route. We were born to challenge the limits of life. Bears, wolves, snowstorms, what have we not encountered? Don't worry. We bring hunting guns into the mountain. Lu Shu thought that this group of explorers were taking a huge risk. Could the current danger level in the Kunlun Mountains be compared to the dangers that they had experienced in the past? He was not in the explorer community, but a member of the realm of cultivation. He wanted to remind him. After all, it is the magically rich era. We still have to be careful. Brother, you should be more cautious. When Zhang Yanfeng heard this, he grew unhappy. Brother, are you looking down on us? Lu Shu was dumbfounded. Why would I look down on you? Zhang Yanfeng suddenly laughed out loud. Brother, we have a Class D secret practitioner leading us. Lu Shu finally understood. No wonder he was so strong-willed. So they had a secret practitioner present. Back then when he was still Kasayapa the Venerable, he had heard that some secret practitioners had made use of their physiques to lead mountain climbing teams. It was a lucrative business. Everyone in this world had their own ways to live. It was good that some people were willing to earn money through these kinds of jobs. It was much better than beating people up for a living, right? Lu Shu suddenly had a change of mind. Brother, I want to join you. Is that okay? When Zhang Yanfeng heard this, he was very happy. He was different from the amateur explorer groups. They were professionals. They depended on this for a living. Leading tours and reporters to explore the area was a very lucrative business. The more famous they were, the more sponsorship they would receive. He had talked to Lu Shu earlier to bring in more business. Zhang Yanfeng laughed. We'll have to see your physique. But you have to pay to join our team. Never mind then. From Zhang Yanfeng's distress, plus 666. Lu Shu was particular about money. Zhang Yanfeng never thought that this conversation would have so many twists and turns. But they were not a charity either. Zhang Yanfeng said softly, Brother, we can't take you in for free. If you encountered an inexperienced group, they might really leave you to die in there. Furthermore, the Kunlun Mountains are very dangerous now. Is money more important or is your life more important? Lu Shu said frankly, money is more important. From Zhang Yanfeng's distress, plus 666. Needless to say, Lu Shu did not think much about the protection that a Class D secret practitioner could provide. Lu Shu did not care much about safety. If Lu Shu was familiar with the route, he would be able to make money from customers as well. Who else could protect Lu Shu other than himself? But he would have to find another group to join. Chapter 732, Counterattack. Most people would experience altitude sickness when they came to Seiqing. Most people would be fine after eating medicine to counter the pain. But those who were hiking could only endure as their bodies would grow dependent on the medicine. In the future, it would be difficult for them to tackle higher altitudes. But the explorers here had the strongest spirit of adventure among all of humanity, no matter whether they were here to earn money, to experience the thrill, or because of their beliefs. Even before the dawn of the magically rich era, they had to take huge risks while hiking. Lu Shu walked out of the station. He did not experience altitude sickness. The greatest strength of practitioners was not simply their strong physique, but also their ability to adapt to different environments. He walked towards an inn that he had found online. The inn was a place that explorers often stayed at. The blackboard outside the inn was filled with different routes that hikers could take. For example, if someone wanted to start at Seiqing and hike a mountain, they could either find a free ride here, or find people walking in the same direction. When Lu Shu walked into the inn, he was dumbfounded. He saw Zhang Yanfeng talking to 5 or 6 people in the courtyard of the inn. He was shocked. "Did you follow me?" Zhang Yanfeng was confused. "I reached here first? Are you crazy? Who followed who?" From Zhang Yanfeng's distress, plus 166. "Brother, if you want to join us, just say so." Zhang Yanfeng said unhappily, "Why did you follow me? Don't you understand the rules of the community?" At that moment, Lu Shu saw a familiar face. He did not recognize Lu Shu, but Lu Shu recognized him. Lu Shu instantly changed his plans. He said, "How much does it cost to join you?" "I want to take the route to Death Valley." 20,000, said Zhang Yanfeng. "The level of danger in the Kunlun Mountains changes every day. We have to take a huge risk to bring beginners into the mountains. If you want to take on the challenge, I'll have to charge you another 5,000. To Zhang Yanfeng and the other explorers, no matter whether it was Korea Pass or Death Valley, these were all places that they wanted to visit. They could earn money and fulfill their explorer dreams at the same time. What a deal! This was the first time Lu Shu was so generous. He reached into his bag and fished out a gold bar. He threw it at Zhang Yanfeng. "This should be enough, right?" "Yes, yes. Brother, you are so generous." Zhang Yanfeng had traveled widely. Once they had a gold bar in their hands, they would be able to determine whether it was real just by its weight and color. At first, he had thought that Lu Shu was a poor student. But he turned out to be a tycoon. Lu Shu smiled and went to find the boss of the inn to book a room. He had given a gold bar instead of cash as he was afraid that Zhang Yanfeng would spend all the money. But with a gold bar, it was different. He would be able to spend money for now. The person who he recognized was very interesting. Back then, when he returned from the collection of gods and tried to counter the big families, he had found the Luo City black market. The person who had been keeping guard behind the iron gate was Wang Zhe. He was the Class D secret practitioner in this team. Back then, when Lu Shu entered the black market, Wang Zhe had stolen a magical stone. But after the fight between him, Li Yixiao and Nailin Ke, Wang Zhe ran off, never to appear again. But here he was. Lu Shu would collect both the principal and interest from him. This fellow was very interesting. After he stole a magical stone, he ran away and did not come back to guard the black market. He had run to such a distant place. But back then, Lu Shu still had Gao Shinin's appearance. Thus, Wang Zhe did not recognize him. Lu Shu had made an impressive move from the start. He had taken out a gold bar worth more than $20,000. Zhang Yanfeng came up with a plan. He wanted to see whether he could get Lu Shu to spend more. But what they did not know was that the moment Lu Shu entered the inn, the humidity in the inn started to increase. It would be impossible for anyone to disappear without a trace with his water-type abilities. They wanted to fight Lu Shu, but Lu Shu had his eyes on Wang Zhe. After Lu Shu went up, Wang Zhe looked at Zhang Yanfeng and asked calmly, "What?" Bringing gold bars is common here, but most young people carry cash with them. People who traveled often carried gold bars to allow them to easily escape. Which young person in this day and age would bring gold bars around? Wang Zhe was still thin back then when he was guarding the door. After some time leading groups, he now had an aura. His face had become rounder as well. I ran into him on the train. Back then, I saw that he was looking up hiking resources on his phone, so I invited him to join us. I didn't think that he would be a tycoon. Zhang Yanfeng laughed and said, "He is definitely a beginner." The information that he had looked up was not reliable. Who in our community would post such a nonsensical post? Wang Zhe nodded his head. This is not far. I don't know why the Heavenly Network had prohibited entry into the Kunlun Mountains. But it doesn't look too serious. There is no one from the heavenly network in the mountains. Call him down during dinner. Make him drunk and get some information from him. Try to solicit some more money from him.
Ha! Ha!
Are you scared of him even though you're a practitioner? Zhang Yanfeng took no notice. In this world, some hiked out of pure interest, but some wanted to earn money while having fun. There were all kinds of fish in the sea. At night, Zhang Yanfeng walked up and called Lu Shu. Lu Shu, do you want to eat dinner with us? We will probably be together for a month. We should get to know one another better. Lu Shu happily followed Zhang Yanfeng down. There were now 7 people in the team, including him. According to Zhang Yanfeng, they had to have 12 people before they could set off. But it would be easy to recruit 5 more members. There were many young people who wanted to go hiking in this season. Wang Zhe and the rest had set up a bonfire in the courtyard and were grilling food to eat. There were still 2 boxes of white wine beside them. Lu Shu pulled up a small chair and ate by the bonfire. You are a fun bunch. Zhang Yanfeng opened a bottle of white wine and poured a glass for everyone. Everyone's eyes fell on Lu Shu. They were planning to get him drunk and make him talk. Zhang Yanfeng smiled. This is your first time drinking with us. We have a rule while drinking. I will first introduce everyone at this table. After that, we will drink 1 glass. If you are able to say out their names after drinking, then you have acknowledged us as your friends. If you are correct, we will drink again. If you cannot say their names, the friendship has been established, so you will drink 1 glass. Beside you is Garib Bala Danza Musu's Dawn. Next is Euler Dege Mahalalel Rithu Basil. Lu Shu was speechless. Zhang Yanfeng happily drank 1 glass with everyone else. Just like that, everyone had drunk 2 or 3 glasses of wine. Then they looked at Lu Shu. This method of bullying young people always succeeded. Even those who were strong drinkers could not win against this trump card. Of course, these names were fake. But they would only reveal this after they finished drinking. They had so many strong men, as well as a practitioner. A young man was an easy target for them. Lu Shu looked at Zhang Yanfeng and paused for 2 seconds. Garib Baladanza Musu's Dawn, Euler Dege Mahalalel Rithu Basil. From Zhang Yanfeng's distress, plus 666. From Wang Zhe's distress, plus 666. From Li Kang's. Lu Shu silently laughed. The distress points showed that they all had Chinese names. Why did they act as if they were from a minority race? Chapter 733, Enter the Kunlun Mountains. After a round of drinking, everyone realized that this young man was not as easy to bully as they had thought. Lu Shu was not drunk at all. On the other hand, Zhang Yanfeng and the rest were about to vomit. A few well-known backpackers, including Zhang Yanfeng, pasted a few brochures regarding the Death Valley route on the board outside the inn. They explicitly stated that they had a Class D secret practitioner in the lead. In just 2 days, they had gathered 12 people. Out of the 5 new members, there were 4 men and 1 woman. There was a couple among the new members. Everyone seemed to be very well prepared. Even the lady seemed to be very experienced, as if she was a seasoned backpacker. In this day and age, not only could men seek excitement in their ordinary lives. Women could as well. But the new members were not very young. The youngest member was about 25 years old. From the way they dressed, they seemed to come from wealthy families who were probably much richer than Lu Shu. Lu Shu wore a jacket that cost over $300. Everyone used climbing boots, while Lu Shu wore sneakers. He did not want to spend too much money here. He would be able to survive even if he only wore a t-shirt in the cold, let alone wearing shoes here. Every time he exerted some strength, he would spoil a pair of shoes. Every fight made Lu Shu distressed. Zhang Yanfeng looked at Lu Shu's attire and said, "Brother, you will have a hard time in the mountains if you dress like that. You must have a jacket, climbing boots, snowshoes and other apparel to keep you warm. Even during this time of the year, it might still snow at the Kunlun Mountains. Lu Shu thought about it. He could not make himself stand out so much either. He bought the cheapest set of clothes and came back. The other members of the team did not further comment on Lu Shu's attire. Everyone was responsible for their own actions. Do not say that we did not remind you if you freeze in the mountains. The 5 new members had no intentions to talk to Lu Shu. They were of a different class. The world that they lived in was also different. They had gone hiking with some backpackers before. After these backpackers knew their family background and their financial status, they begged for financial help daily. The friendships that they had made at the mountains were gone in less than half an hour. The lady looked at Wang Jia and said, "We have paid money for this, but you get what you pay for. Prove to us that you are truly a Class D secret practitioner. The ground at the Kunlun Mountains is uneven. If you lie to us, we could be sent to our deaths." Wang Jia conceitedly raised boulder that was used for decoration in the inn. "Is this enough proof?" The lady did not speak or further. She had acknowledged his strength. Now, the backpackers also knew that the Kunlun Mountains were not safe, thus the wealthy were only willing to hike if they joined a group with a secret practitioner in the lead. Zhang Yanfeng laughed. "Everyone, there is no need to worry. Yesterday, a team came out from Korea Pass. They did not encounter any dangers along the way. There are many teams entering and exiting the Kunlun Mountains. Nothing has happened so far." Lu Shu understood. No wonder they were so brave. Everyone had returned safely. But he had some doubts. Were the changes in the Kunlun Mountains not as big as he had expected? They would set off for the Kunlun Mountains the next day. Zhang Yanfeng, Wang Jia and the rest arranged the equipment and made detailed markings on their map to confirm the route that they would take. Some had even gone ahead to orientate their GPS at the Kendrick mine, where they would exit from. Once they strayed away from this direction, they would likely be trapped in the dangerous Kunlun Mountains. 5 days after Lu Shu had arrived in Seiqing, they took a flight towards Qingzhou. They would then hike through the Kamantag Mountains and walk along the border of the Kumukili Desert before reaching the Kunlun Mountains. Lu Shu saw the Kunlun Mountains below them as they flew by. The mountain was black, like ashes after a fire. He sensed that there was something within the mountains that was looking up at them. This made him feel very uncertain. Zhang Yanfeng had bought naan bread at Qingzhou. Naan were better than other foods in the mountains. It was easy to store and could curb hunger. Lu Shu had stored plenty of fresh water and food in the Seal of Lands. He would not die here because of dehydration or starvation. As they climbed the Kamantag Mountains, Lu Shu was always last. He seemed as if he was about to give up any minute, but always managed to catch up. No one knew how strong he was, but they felt like he would reach his limit soon. Zhang Yanfeng and the rest treated the wealthy well, but no one was willing to help Lu Shu, unless he paid up. Zhang Yanfeng and the rest were waiting for Lu Shu to give up to help him. Afterwards, they would take the rest of his money. But Lu Shu did not complain the entire trip. "Are you playing around with me?" He was Lu Shu, an outstanding figure among Class Bs. These people were no match for him, even if they took a car. From Zhang Yanfeng's distress, +10, +10, +19. They passed by a river. There was a pumping station by the river. The staff in the station insisted on giving Lu Shu and the rest a good meal. Lu Shu took out 2 apples from his bag and passed it to the staff member. There was a lack of fruits and vegetables here. People often grew closer in sparsely populated places. But when the rest of the team saw that Lu Shu still had the strength to bring superficial fruits like apples, they were filled with disdain. Lu Shu did not speak with the rest of the members. Occasionally, when they passed by antelopes, he would observe whether they had mutated. But there were no signs of mutation. He had also seen an antelope on the ridge of the mountain that was unusually muscular. Its antlers were also as sharp as knives. It observed the group of humans from far away. Lu Shu knew that they had not entered the heart of this region. Before they left the pumping station, Lu Shu took the chance while there was still a signal to send a message to Lu Xiaoyu. Everything is safe here. I am about to enter the Kunlun Mountains and will come out after 12 days. Gather in Qingzhou. At night, Zhang Yanfeng brought the team to a place where there was no wind to set up their tents for the night. Everyone sat around and popped the blisters on their feet. Lu Shu sat at the entrance of his tent and looked up at the stars. It was as if the stars were breathing along with him. The world truly was vast. In Qingzhou, Lu Xiaoyu showed the message from Lu Shu to everyone. Luo Nan said, "Then let's wait for Lu Shu here." Chen Zuan looked impatient. "Teacher, is it really okay for you to come with us? This is not considered truancy, right?" No. Luo Nan smiled. "We are here to catch specimens." Chang Qiuqiu was suddenly curious. "Brother Zuan, are you still scared of skipping class? You don't quite look like a model student." Chen Zuan grew melancholic. "I have never skipped class in my entire life. I was traumatized when I was young. In primary school, I lied that my stomach hurt and wanted to go home. The class monitor called my father. My father insisted on bringing me to the hospital, but I couldn't tell him that I was fine. If I did, I would be beaten. When we reached the hospital, the doctor said that I had appendicitis, and I had to remove my appendix." Chapter 734, Demon King Who Spoils the Mood. On their first day in the Kunlun Mountains, Lu Shu and the rest encountered a wild yak. This was their first time encountering an animal that attacked humans. Yaks were usually herd animals that did not attack other species. But wild yaks were different. Hikers were most afraid of encountering them in the wild. The yaks were merciless. Lu Shu stood far away. He had no intention of making a move. This yak was a Class F, which was higher than that of the mutated animals in the city. But Wangzhou was a Class D. Lu Shu wanted to see if the magical stone he had stolen had any effect. But Lu Shu was disappointed. Wangzhou had no decent weapons. A German spade was his best weapon. Earlier, Zhang Yanfeng and the rest had boasted that they carried hunting guns, but Lu Shu saw nothing of the like. How disappointing. Wang Zhe easily killed the wild yak. As the group was about to advance, Lu Shu said he needed the toilet. He went back to where the wild yak was and tossed its corpse into the Seal of Lands. After all, he was still a species research student. Although he had come here to humiliate Nieting, it was not like Lu Shu to come back empty-handed. Furthermore, all the students in the specialization depended on one another. He could not discount every one of their techniques. They continued on. Lu Shu realized that the only female in the team received more attention. Under normal circumstances, they would simply stuff some food into their mouths for lunch. But this lady was more refined. If she wanted to eat porridge, they would stop and wait for her. A group of uncles were in the wilderness, but had not encountered any danger. They were willing to show their gentlemanliness. Being able to drink a bowl of porridge in a place like this was heavenly. Her husband even carried a small bag of rice around. Zhang Yanfeng and the rest were slightly envious. Except Lu Shu. That afternoon, the lady called Wang Yan cooked a small pot of porridge. Lu Shu took out 2 pairs from his bag. They were big and juicy. One bite and the juice almost flowed down Lu Shu's chin. From Zhang Yanfeng's distress, plus 166. From Wang Yan's. All of them looked as Lu Shu ate a pear in this weather. They almost drooled. They could not believe that he had brought so many fruits here. Lu Shu had just given away 2 apples. Everyone suspected that Lu Shu had lived in comfort all his life, thus he had no common sense. Wang Yan pursed her lips as she cooked her porridge. She was treated the best out of all the members in the group. Everyone envied how much her husband doted on her. But no matter how delicious the porridge was, nothing could beat eating fruits here. Go and ask him whether he's selling the fruits. Wang Yan poked her husband's waist using her elbow. Her husband walked towards Lu Shu. Before he could open his mouth, Lu Shu spoke. One for $5,000. From Wang Yan's distress, plus 666. From. Zhang Yanfeng was dumbfounded. He was not here to hike. He was here to sell fruits. Wang Zhe furrowed her eyebrows. He's not going to disappear after selling all his fruits, is he? I also suspect that he might do so. In the end, Wang Yan did not buy Lu Shu's pears. Who would be so dumb? After this conflict, all the more did they not want to talk to Lu Shu. Someone whispered, with so many fruits, he definitely doesn't have enough rations.
Ha! Ha!
I have never heard of anyone who has been able to carry so many fruits and finish the hike. Let him suffer. At night, Lu Shu took out another 2 pears. This was his first time discovering that he could earn distress points just by eating fruits. In the afternoon, they countered many skeletons of wild animals on the way. This was normal. But encountering a pack of wolves and footprints of a bear near water sources made them slightly scared. Zhang Yanfeng and the rest were experienced. Lu Shu did not expect them to have brought fishing nets. A large fishing net was propped up by hiking poles around the camping ground, surrounding the entire camping ground. Zhang Yanfeng sighed and smiled. This way, wild animals will not attack the camping ground. This is a tried and tested method. There is no need to set the fishing net too high. Around waist height will do. This will make wolves and bears retreat. I have never seen this before. The groups before this have never done this, Wang Yan praised. Zhang Yanfeng was extremely proud. Relax. I collect money, but no one has died in my hands. I will always bring everyone back safely. Lu Shu looked at Zhang Yanfeng and was suddenly dumbfounded. Even he, an unimportant person, had his pride. In these 2 days, Lu Shu had realized that in the past, Zhang Yanfeng had led hiking groups. But after the dawn of the magically rich era, wild animals were becoming hard to deal with. Thus, he depended on Wang Zhe. Although Zhang Yanfeng was greedy for money, he did not take the lives of others lightly. Of course, Lu Shu felt that even though he could read their expressions, he would never truly know their intentions. He would still have to observe him throughout their journey. After the trip to the Death Valley, everyone would go their separate ways and never gather again. Humans are highly adaptable creatures who are good at using their brains. This was the reason why humans could dominate the earth. But Lu Shu suddenly thought. If creatures became more intelligent, would they be able to come up with methods like this? In this kind of place, they would only be able to see the wilderness and wild animals for some time. Humans would grow lonely. Every night after lighting up the bonfire, team building was very important. Everyone gathered and shared their stories, jokes, or took turns singing. This was to make everyone feel like they belonged in the team and were not rejected. This was like a sea of sand. There were red plants everywhere on the ground. When they looked up, they saw a vast sky, but they were filled with loneliness. All of them took turns singing, sharing stories or telling jokes. Of course, the uncles would share dirty jokes. Wang Yan acted shy as she listened to them speak. The atmosphere was very harmonious. When it came to Lu Shu paused before saying, Xiaoming was kept in the dark by his parents for a long time. In the end, he died of suffocation. Zhang Yanfeng was speechless. Wang Zhe was silent. Suddenly, there was an awkward silence. Lu Shu was not done. He continued, Xiaoming had just blown out the candle flame. Before he could make a wish, he was chased out of the morning hall. Ahem. Zhang Yanfeng stood up. It's late. Everyone, deal with the blisters on your feet and go to sleep. Lu Shu was sad as he saw everyone else retreat for the night. Why did they not let him finish his story? Wang Zhe suddenly had a feeling that he had encountered Lu Shu before. Lu Shu felt just like the person he was most worried about. But the problem was, Wang Zhe had seen that person's face before. Thus, he did not think too much about it. Chapter 735, Approaching the Central Area. It was the second morning in the Kunlun Mountains now. Lu Shu walked out of his tent, fully rejuvenated, after a song of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Problems like blisters would bother the commoners, but not him. For some reason, Lu Shu felt that his Twinkle Twinkle training was more effective here. That day, they continued to move forward along the desert. They saw countless wild camels, horses and donkeys that had mutated but were not aggressive towards them. There were trails of animal footprints along the cliff, and humans could walk there too. Generally speaking, Lu Shu would capture a few mutated creatures and stuff them into his seal of lands as long as he had the opportunity to do so. In any case, those samples were of significant value for the species research of Luotian Cultivation College. On the fifth day in Kunlun Mountains, there was a drastic decrease in altitude. Conversely, plants gradually increased in height. Lu Shu even encountered a bush as tall as a person. By then, Lu Shu's personality had become well established in the team, antisocial, not gullible at all, yet surprisingly he was one of the strongest members of the team despite his fragile-looking appearance. By the fifth day, most people were suffering from cracking lips. Furthermore, they more or less showed signs of fatigue when marching under the sun. But Lu Shu seemed perfectly fine. Besides, he could still survive on one fruit per day for supply of water and vitamins. Zhang Yanfeng was a tad confused. It appeared that Lu Shu would never yield in front of the hardships, although he looked rather weak. Usually, the following types of people were the least welcomed in walking expeditions: the latecomers, the defiant, the weak and the arrogant who expected the leader to serve him. But when it came to Lu Shu, Zhang Yanfeng had to swallow all of Lu Shu's unpleasant traits just for the money. It seemed viable to rob him straight away, but most people did not dare to breach the law as they were not felonious robbers anyway. After they climbed over a sandhill, Wang Zhe, who was leading the team, suddenly lowered his body and motioned everyone to silence. When everyone obeyed, he craned his neck and looked towards the other side of the hill. Why? Wang Zhe almost jolted in shock. Then, he turned to see Lu Shu's face beside him. Lu Shu craned his head to see a gigantic bear, almost as big as two bulls. There were no such monstrous creatures in the commoner's world. No wonder Wang Zhe was scared. To Lu Shu's consternation, the energy waves from the bear was at least those of Class E, yet, it was found just 2 days' walk away from Death Valley. So what on earth was inside the valley? How? Zhang Yanfeng asked, interested in the profits obtainable from the bear. If they could kill it, they would earn a great fortune from its fur, paws and gallbladder. Lu Shu glimpsed at Zhang Yanfeng in contempt. The Heavenly Network had given him information regarding mutated bears. In northern China, bears were caged and kept for their gallbladder. A tube was cruelly inserted into their gallbladder through their mouth. Then, in the magical era, bears mutated. Moreover, their ascension was rather rapid. In no time, the bears slaughtered all the workers of the gallbladder factory. And this bear they were facing was even stronger. It was a Class E. In the team, no one else, except Lu Shu himself and Wang Zhe, had a winning chance against the bear. Let's hide here, behind the hill, said Wang Zhe, hopefully it will get attracted away by other animals. However, at this very moment, Wang Yan, her husband and 3 other young members of the group had already fled downhill. In the flurry, Wang Yan was tripped by a broken branch on the ground. Her scream was sharp and loud. The grizzly bear turned towards the sandhill and stared into Wang Zhe's eyes. The latter did not dare to move at all. As a result, the two seemed to be gazing at each other with deep emotions. Beside Wang Zhe, Lu Shu looked at him and the giant bear. After a short pause, he asked, "Is the bear a friend of yours?" From Wang Zhe's distress, plus 999. Drops of sweat slid down Wang Zhe's cheeks. He could not understand what was in this fellow's mind. Why the lame joke when their lives were at risk? Despite being praised all day, Wang Zhe was not a reckless man. He immediately turned and ran. Lu Shu was disappointed. What a coward! Meanwhile, the giant bear instantly accelerated towards them. Its fur and blubber trembled violently due to its running motion, and a trail of deep holes was left on the ground under its immense weight. Nonetheless, Lu Shu was surprised to see Zhang Yanfeng stay. He drew a dagger from his bag and shouted, "Run! I'll cover you." In this situation, humans could never outrun the bear. More deaths were inevitable if no one stood out to sacrifice himself. Lu Shu could not understand Zhang Yanfeng's intentions of this act. Was he not merely a greedy gangster? Immediately Lu Shu ran downhill, pulling Zhang Yanfeng along by his collar. As Wang Zhe prepared to run, he was tripped by Lu Shu's leg as the latter seemingly unintentionally extended his leg before he took to his heels. Wang Zhe must show more effort since he had pocketed Lu Shu's money. Moreover, Lu Shu had yet to reason with him regarding the problem of that magical stone. In fact, Lu Shu did not have to make him an enemy over just one magical stone. But in order to live a good life, he would not give up on even half a stone. Then, Lu Shu was reminded that he was an audit student. Screw you, Nya Ting. In any case, Lu Shu was not that cold-hearted. 2 strands of sparrow shade were sent skimming the ground surface towards the chest of the grizzly. In the next instant, the Class E giant bear was stabbed. Although invisible to the onlookers, the cardiorespiratory system of the bear had already started failing. Left without a choice, Wang Zhe jumped to his feet and attacked the bear. He had no way to escape when the bear had darted to right in front of him. But this guy was not equipped with any combat skills. He simply rolled on the ground to dodge the slap and attacked back with his German spade occasionally when he got the chance. Wang Zhe looked pathetic amidst the flying sand. Even a light slap of the bear's paw could result in a long, gaping wound on Wang Zhe's body. At this moment of life and death, Wang Zhe mustered all his courage to fight. He knew that he would be dead if he did not risk his life against the bear. Then, he threw his spade towards the bear with all his strength. In the next second, the bear was dead, even though there were no fatal wounds. It died. Wang Zhe collapsed to the floor absent-mindedly. Why was it such an easy kill? Nevertheless, he had survived anyway. Suddenly he let out a wild laugh, his face covered in dirt. "I'm unbeatable." The rest turned back and were shocked to see the bear dead. At that moment, the 5 young members of the team thought that their money had been well spent. Practitioners were indeed powerful. Only Lu Shu stood aside with a calm face. Then, he noticed something strange in Zhang Yanfeng's expression.
What does it mean to be happy? 'Cause it looks like we all don't know. Glass half full or empty, man, we just putting on a show. Try to look to the heavens.